everybody. Today we're going to talk about Easter Island. You should really go to Easter Island because it's very beautiful, and now I'm going to talk a little more about the location. Easter Island covers roughly 102 square kilometers in the South Pacific Ocean and is located 3,700 kilometers from Charles West Coast and 4,000 kilometers east of Tahiti. The inhabitants of the island is known as Rapa Nui. Those are the island's first inhabitants. The Easter Island is also known as Easter Island. Easter Island was discovered by Dutch explorers in 1722 and was taken over in the 19th century by Chile. It now maintains an economy largely based on tourism. The original population, the Rapa Nui, are still present on the island today. There still live 4,600 Rapa Nui on the island, and 2,600 of them live on the Easter Island. The other people emigrated to Chile. Half of them live around the capital, Santiago. Many island people were captured by slave traders and are spread all over the world, and that's why there are so little people on the island.
The Rapa Nui has more recently been considered to be settled down in the narrow range of 700 to 1100 AD. From 1200 to 1500 was the head period of the manufacturing Moai. The island was most likely populated by Polynesians who navigated in canoes from the Gambier Islands to the Marquesas Islands. According to the oral traditions recorded by missionaries in the 1860s, they had a strong class system with an Ariki, that's a high chief wielding great power over 9 other clans and their respective chiefs. Circa 1600 was the end of the manufacturing Moai, and the mines were abandoned. The Dutch Admiral Roggeveen, on board on the ship the Arena, was the first European to visit the island on Easter Sunday 1722. He found a society in a primitive state with about 3,000 people living in dirty huts or caves. Later on, the Spanish normally take over the island, but it was so underpopulated, isolated, and a shortage in resources that no formal colonial occupation ever took place, and that was in 1770. Later on, in 1774, James Cook visited the island. In 1862, the Peruvian slave raiders removed half of the population because of the smallpox epidemic. In 1864, the missionaries arrived. The population continued to decline contact, and the state of the island worsened. In 1877, the Peruvians removed. Eventually, the island was taken over by Chile in 1880, and they transformed the island into a giant ranch for 40,000 sheep, run by a British company. Easter Island therefore became a mystery and have a wide variety of theories involved by spacemen and lost civilizations that had sunk into the Pacific, leaving Easter Island as a remainder. some of the more and between 1955 and 1956 Thor Heyerdahl did the expedition, and last but not least in 1996 Easter Island became a World Heritage.
The Moai, the large statues or Moai, for which Eastern Island is world famous, were carved between 1100 until 1680 AD. A total of 887 monolithic statues have been collected on the island and in museums for so far. Often identified as the Easter Island heads, have torsos, and that ends up to the top of their tides. Some of them were, a number of them were completed and were kneeling on their knees and with their hands on their stomachs. Some of them became buried up to their necks. Almost all Moai were carved out of volcanic ash or tuff that was found all around the place at the volcano Reno Raraku. The original inhabitants who carved them used only stone hand chisels. You can see here. While many teams worked on different statues at the same time, a single Moai took a team of 5 or 6 men approximately to complete it in 1 year. Only a quarter of the statues were installed, while nearly half of them remained at the quarry at the Reno Raraku. The rest was put elsewhere, probably on their way to the final location. The largest Moai ever raised on a platform is known as Paru. It weighs 82 tons and measures 9.8 meters or 32.50 feet. Several other statues of similar weights were transported to the north and south coast of the island. It's not yet known how they transported the statues, but possibilities are that they employed using a Miroa Mangoa Era, a Y-shaped sledge with crossed pieces that was put together with a rope of the hau tree, where I didn't find a picture of the hau tree. Anywhere between 150 until 250 men was needed to pull the statue to the place where he must be, depending on the size of the Moai. In 2011, a Moai was buried out of the ground, suggesting that they were much larger and older than previously thought.
I'm going to talk a little more about culture. First, the mythology. There are a lot of myths going on the island, but the most important myths are Tangata Manu, the birdman cult, which was practiced until the 1860s. Make Make, some of the most important gods. Aku Aku, the guardians of the Holy Family. Moai Kava Kava, a ghostman of the Hanau Epe, of the long ears. And Hekai Ite Umpare Haonga Kakapu Hanau Epe Kai Noruego, the holy chant to calm down the Aku Aku before entering a family cave. When we talk about stonework for the Moai, the Rapa Nui people used 5 sorts of stone: basalt, obsidian, red scoria, and tuff. The stone houses were 2 types of houses are known from the past. The Harapayenga, a house with an incomplete foundation, most of the time is built out of hay, and Hare Oka, a round stone structure. When we talk about petroglyphs, we talk about pictures carved into rock, and Easter Island has one of the richest collections in all Polynesia. They carved them because of the creation to create totems, to mark territory, or to remind a person or event. Other subjects include sea turtles and Make Make, the chief god of the Tangatu Manu, or birdman cult. The island has a lot of caves. Many caves feature in the myths and legends of the Rapa Nui. the Rongo Rongo was the script the people of Eastern Island used. Glyphs include the Rongo Rongo include pictographics and geometric shapes. You have to read it from left to right, and only 24 of texts survive after centuries, none of which remain on the islands. There are also only a couple of similarities with the petroglyphs on the islands. Wood was very rare on the Easter Island during the 18th and 19th centuries, but a number of carvings have found their way to the world's museums. The Rapa Nui sponsor an annual festival, the Tapati, held since 1975 around the beginning of February to celebrate Rapa Nui culture. The islanders also keep a national football team and 3 discos in the town of Hangaroa. Other cultural activities include a musical tradition that combines South American and Polynesian effects and wood carving.
So now you hear all this stuff, we hope you will go to the Eastern Island.
Yeah.